Whispers at the Treeline. Carlos Carrasquero. The old lady walked along the edge of the forest each evening just before the light thinned into gray. Her shoes pressed softly into the damp soil, careful and unhurried, as though the ground itself were listening. She wore a faded blue shawl around her shoulders despite the warmth of the season. It had once belonged to her sister, or so she liked to say, though there was no one left in the village who remembered a sister at all. The forest rose beside her in a wall of trunks and leaves, tall and patient. The trees stood close together, their bark furrowed like thoughtful brows. Now and then, a breeze stirred their branches, and the sound followed her like a low whisper that never quite formed words. She nodded as she walked. "Yes, I thought so too," she murmured pleasantly. "It has been warmer than usual." There was no one on the path with her. The road back to the village lay open and empty, a pale ribbon of dust and scattered stones. A pair of crows watched from a fence post, unimpressed and silent. Anyone seeing her from a distance would have thought her mind had wandered off long ago. She paused near a crooked oak, whose roots pushed from the earth like knuckles. She leaned slightly toward the forest, tilting her head as if to hear better something buried deep among the leaves. "Oh, I remember," she said with a small laugh. "You always did prefer the rain. I never understood why. It makes everything so heavy." The wind shifted. Leaves trembled, though the air was still. The old lady reached out and brushed her fingers against the bark of the nearest trunk. Her touch was gentle, familiar. "They have built new houses beyond the hill," she went on. "Bright roofs, loud children. They do not look this way very often. That is probably for the best." A long silence followed, yet she remained there, listening. Her cloudy eyes seemed fixed on a particular patch of shadow between two great trees. The shadow was darker than the rest, shaped almost like a figure standing just beyond sight. She smiled. "I bring no bread today," she said. "The baker has grown stingy, and my teeth are not what they used to be." The breeze rose again, stronger this time. It rustled through the canopy and bent the tall grass at her feet. Somewhere deeper in the forest, there came a slow sound, like wood shifting against wood. The old lady straightened, smoothing her shawl. "Well," she sighed softly, "I should not keep you. Evening comes quickly now." She took a careful step back onto the path. Her gaze lingered on that darker patch between the trees. "It was nice to talk with you again." She turned and began her slow walk toward the village, her figure growing smaller against the fading light. She did not look back. For a moment, nothing moved. The forest stood as it always had, layered in shadow and green. Then the darker shape between the trunks stirred. What had seemed like an uneven column of bark shifted, separating from the tree beside it. It unfolded with the quiet grace of bending branches, revealing a tall and narrow form that carried the texture of wood across its limbs. A suggestion of a face pressed outward from the grain, eyes like knots opening briefly to the dimming sky. It watched the old lady until she disappeared beyond the curve of the road. Then, with a sound no louder than a settling leaf, it stepped backward. Its shape thinned, blending once more with the crowded trunks. In another breath, it was only bark and shadow, rooted among its kin, waiting for the next evening's gentle conversation.